What is the most shocked you have been when waking up? 1. When I was living in the university dorm, with a roommate, we went drinking in another room. I had enough and decided to go to bed in my room. I wasn't passed out drunk, but I was impaired, so I successfully went to bed in my own bed. In my own room. I woke up in my own bed, in the elevator, with strangers. That was pretty shocking. Evidently my roommate had moved the party back to our room. When the first party shut down, the partiers thought it would be funny to move me out of our 16 by 10 foot room and put me in the elevator. I wasn't quite as impressed, but I did see the humor in it after a few days. 2. Caitlin. I heard my mom call my voice from the other room. Without a second thought, I hopped out of bed and ran into her room. Just as I got there, I watched my mom fall onto the ground from the computer desk, clutching her chest. As I watched her fall to the ground, I was frozen stiff from fear. Her moans and agony went through me like spikes of ice. She had to tell me to call 911 before I snapped out and grabbed the phone. There, I dialed the number and the operator led me through what to do next. While all this was happening, Mom was still on the floor, barely able to breathe. Minutes later, I heard sirens outside. The first responders and police came inside. A woman led me to the other room where she asked me if I had anywhere else to go. I told her my grandparents' house, and she led me back through the house out to her car. As we walked through, I got one last look at my mom before leaving the house for good. The officer took me to my grandparents, and later my grandmother drove me to school. I was late at this point, and we had one of the Allah Regents. I was able to miss it. The day went on normally until the teacher got a call. She told me to go down to the principal's office. I was confused, but did so. When I got down there, the principal led me to his office. He said, "I am so sorry, I had no idea what he meant." In the office was my dad and sister. They looked at me, sad. Still, I was so confused what was going on. Caitlin, Mom is dead. Definitely one heck of a wake-up call if you ask me. This happened 10 years ago as of yesterday. I miss her dearly and forever will remember her through the rose-tinted glasses of my childhood. 3. At 1 a.m. I was awoken to a noise coming from my infant son's bedroom. I laid in bed for a few seconds trying to discern the noise, which I had never heard before. Suddenly, in panic, I realized that the noise sounded like my son gasping for breath with a loud, struggling, awful noise. I ran to the crib to discover that he had bumps all over his face and body. He was pale and somewhat unresponsive. As you can imagine, my heart felt as though it was pounding out of my chest. To make matters worse, my husband was out of town for business. While I was shocked, disoriented from being awoken so suddenly, and frightened, I ran to my 5-year-old daughter's room and screamed for her to get up and follow me as I grabbed my son and put him in his car seat to go to the children's hospital emergency room. I lived about 10 minutes away and it was a straight shot from my home. I knew the exact route and thought that I would get there faster than the paramedics since I wouldn't need to take time to call, give directions to a dispatcher, explain symptoms. I knew that at 1 a.m. on a weeknight in Akron, Ohio, the streets would be empty and the traffic lights would be blinking. I reasoned that I would run the lights if they weren't blinking. In the shock of the moment, I thought this was the fastest way to get my son medical attention. While I was racing to ER, cell phones not out yet, couldn't call anyone. I heard my son struggle to breathe once again. The sound was horrendous and terrifying. At that moment I was overcome with fear that I had made a huge mistake driving us to ER. So while I was panicking for my son's life, I was also mentally beating myself up for not having called 911 for ambulance transport. I yelled to my daughter who was in the backseat next to my son Chelsea, "Make sure that Christopher is breathing. Don't let him stop breathing. He is very, very sick." She immediately burst into tears. Not a proud mommy moment. Profuse apologies came later, as I screeched into the ER driveway and ran into the entrance wearing my pajamas. The staff must have sensed something urgent. My son's wheezing noise also alerted the well-trained staff to the distress, and a team of doctors and nurses ran out with a hospital bed to meet us in the entrance. We didn't even need to stop at triage or the check-in desk. They gave me a clipboard with papers to sign as we ran together down the corridor. The bumps were hives. The loud wheezing noise was my son experiencing a life-threatening anaphylactic reaction to his DTP vaccination given hours earlier. The doctors worked quickly and gave him an injection of adrenaline. Thankfully, he responded quickly and was soon able to breathe again. I have been awakened to earthquakes, fire evacuations, but this experience was the most shocking way to wake up. I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. Aside from traumatizing my daughter who was awoken in an equally horrible manner, potentially worse, we all were able to go back to sleep, albeit together in the same bed, when we got home at 2:30 a.m. Thankfully, my story has a happy ending.